Emotions. They can be our greatest allies or our worst enemies. But what if there was a way to master them? Welcome to the world of Stoicism, where emotions are not suppressed but understood and managed. Let's dive in. Have you ever pondered if burying your feelings is the right approach? Does it contribute to your well-being or harm it? This question has been recurring for years. The resolution may rest in a philosophy that has stood the test of time for more than 2 millennia. Stoicism. Now you might be wondering, Stoicism, isn't that just about concealing your emotions? That's a misconception. The Stoics, ancient Greek and Roman philosophers, preached that happiness doesn't derive from suppressing our feelings, but from comprehending and managing them. The Stoics perceived emotions as a natural aspect of human existence. Yes, we're not robots. We experience joy, sadness, anger, and a multitude of other emotions. But instead of being governed by these emotions, the Stoics suggested we govern them. They had faith in the power of reason and logical thought. Using these tools, we can determine the influence our emotions have on us. Stoicism may provide a fresh perspective if you've been suppressing your feelings, hoping they'll just vanish. Rather than resisting your emotions, you acknowledge them, understand their roots, and determine their influence on your life. Now, this doesn't mean you'll cease to feel pain or sadness, but it does imply that you can choose the degree to which these feelings control you. You can decide to accept your emotions as a natural part of life without letting them direct your actions or your happiness. As we delve deeper into this subject, remember, Stoicism is not about stifling our emotions, but about understanding and controlling them. Opening. How does Stoicism compare to other philosophies when it comes to handling emotions? Let's take a stroll down the philosophical lane, shall we? First stop, Buddhism. Buddhism emphasizes mindfulness and acceptance of all feelings, even the unpleasant ones. It's like inviting your emotions to tea, acknowledging their presence but not letting them overstay their welcome. Stoicism, on the other hand, encourages us to take a step back, observe our emotions objectively, and recognize that we have the power to control our responses to them. Next, we saunter into the realm of existentialism. This philosophy underscores the importance of personal responsibility and free will. Existentialists believe that we create our own emotions, and thus we are in charge of how we feel. Stoicism aligns with this to some extent, asserting that our emotions are largely a result of our judgments about external events and not the events themselves. And finally, we arrive at Epicureanism. This philosophy advocates for the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. It's like trying to balance on a tightrope, leaning towards joy and away from suffering. Stoicism, contrastingly, doesn't advocate for the avoidance of negative emotions, but rather teaches us to remain equanimous in their presence. While all these philosophies offer different perspectives on emotions, they do share some common ground. They all advocate for a level of emotional awareness and self-control. However, Stoicism stands out in its emphasis on the power of perception and the idea that we can choose how to respond to our emotions. In essence, Stoicism, Buddhism, existentialism, and Epicureanism all provide different maps for navigating the turbulent sea of emotions. Some suggest we sail with the wind, others propose we adjust our sails to reach our destination, and some argue that we should simply weather the storm. Closing, it becomes clear that each philosophy offers unique ways to navigate the turbulent sea of emotions. So, what does it really mean to handle emotions the Stoic way? In the realm of Stoicism, emotions aren't seen as mere annoyances to be buried and forgotten. Rather, they are regarded as natural human responses that need to be understood, accepted, and managed. The Stoics, with their profound wisdom, saw emotions as part of the human experience, an experience that is shaped by the way we perceive the world around us. Let's start with acceptance. The Stoics believed that life is full of events that are beyond our control. These events can stir up a whirlpool of emotions within us. However, instead of trying to suppress these feelings, Stoicism teaches us to accept them as a natural part of our existence. It's like watching a storm from the safety of your home. You can't stop the storm, but you can accept its presence and adapt to it. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean resignation or apathy. It means acknowledging the reality of our emotions without letting them overwhelm us. Next comes understanding. To the Stoics, emotions are not random or arbitrary. They stem from our thoughts and beliefs about the world. By understanding the root cause of our emotions, we can learn to modify our thoughts and perceptions. For instance, if you're feeling anxious about a forthcoming event, it may be because you're imagining the worst possible outcome. The Stoics would advise you to challenge this negative thinking and replace it with a more balanced perspective. Understanding our emotions this way allows us to gain insight into our own minds, helping us to navigate through life's challenges with greater clarity and wisdom. Lastly, we have control. While we can't control the events that trigger our emotions, we can control how we respond to them. This is where the true power of Stoicism lies. It encourages us to cultivate emotional resilience, the ability to bounce back from negative emotions and maintain our composure in the face of adversity. Instead of being tossed about by the waves of emotion, we can learn to steer our own ship, guiding our emotional responses in a direction that serves our well-being. Stoicism doesn't advocate for emotional suppression. It doesn't tell us to bury our feelings and pretend they don't exist. On the contrary, it promotes emotional awareness and regulation. It teaches us to view our emotions as valuable tools for personal growth and self-improvement. It asks us to stand tall in the face of emotional storms, not by denying their existence, but by understanding their nature and learning to navigate through them with grace and resilience. Indeed, Stoicism offers a perspective shift, urging us not to suppress but to understand and manage our emotions. But is Stoicism practical in today's fast-paced and emotion-driven world? Let's explore this question by diving into the applicability of Stoicism in our modern lives. Many might argue that Stoicism is an outmoded philosophy, a relic of an ancient era, irrelevant to the challenges of the 21st century. But those who practice Stoicism would beg to differ. First, let's consider the workplace, a hotbed of stress, competition, and often disappointment. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot. Imagine a high-pressure project where the stakes are high and deadlines are looming. The Stoic approach would be to concentrate on your tasks, your performance, your commitment instead of worrying about the outcome, which is, to a large extent, out of your hands. Now, picture a personal scenario. You've had a falling out with a friend. The natural response might be anger, sadness, or resentment, but Stoicism encourages us to view the situation objectively, to understand that people's actions and words reflect their own realities, not ours. It's about accepting that we cannot control others' thoughts and actions, only our reactions to them. Or consider the global socio-political climate rife with uncertainty and conflict. Stoicism can provide a buffer, a way to navigate these turbulent waters with grace and equanimity. It teaches us to accept the world as it is, not as we wish it to be, and to find tranquility amidst chaos. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity and its universality. Whether you're a CEO, an artist, a student, or a homemaker, Stoicism has something to offer. It's about finding inner peace, about understanding the ebb and flow of life, and learning to ride the waves with dignity and resilience. Of course, Stoicism is not a magic bullet, it's a philosophy, a way of life, and like any other, it comes with its own set of challenges. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. It's about understanding that emotions are part of the human experience, but they do not need to rule us. One of the greatest challenges of practicing Stoicism is the misconception that it advocates for emotional suppression. But that's far from the truth. Stoicism doesn't ask us to ignore our feelings, but to understand them, to question them, and ultimately to master them. It's also worth noting that Stoicism is not about isolation or indifference. It's about developing emotional resilience, about understanding our place in the larger scheme of things and cultivating a sense of perspective. In conclusion, the practicality of Stoicism is not determined by the era we live in, but by our willingness to apply its principles in our daily lives. It's about finding balance in an unbalanced world, about understanding the transient nature of pleasure and pain, and learning to live in harmony with the inevitable ups and downs of life. Stoicism, despite its ancient origins, has relevance and utility even in our modern times. Can practicing Stoicism lead to emotional resilience? A fascinating question indeed. Let's dive into the concept of emotional resilience first. It's the ability to bounce back from adversity, to adapt well in the face of tragedy, trauma, or significant stress. It's not about avoiding hardship, but rather developing the strength to cope, recover, and often to emerge stronger than before. Now, how does Stoicism come into play? Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. It encourages us to see obstacles not as impediments, but as opportunities for growth and learning. This mindset fosters resilience by helping us to stay calm in the storm and to find meaning in our struggles. Imagine you're a boxer in the ring. Each punch is a hardship life throws at you. Instead of allowing each hit to knock you down, you learn to take it, to roll with it, and to come back stronger. That's the Stoic approach to resilience. Or consider a tree in a storm. The tree that bends with the wind is more likely to survive than the one that remains rigid. The tree doesn't resist the storm, it adjusts and endures. And when the storm passes, it stands tall once more, perhaps even stronger having weathered the storm. That's emotional resilience, the Stoic way. Stoicism also teaches us to view our emotions objectively, to understand them rather than be controlled by them. It's not about suppressing emotions, but rather developing a healthy relationship with them, one that doesn't let them dictate our actions. This emotional intelligence is a crucial component of resilience. So, to answer our initial question, yes, practicing Stoicism can indeed lead to emotional resilience. It equips us with the mental and emotional tools to handle life's ups and downs, to weather the storms with grace, and to emerge stronger on the other side. Thus, Stoicism can serve as a path to emotional resilience, equipping us to handle life's ups and downs with grace and equanimity. As we wrap up, let's recall the key points we've discussed. We began our journey by questioning the compatibility of emotions and Stoicism, and we found that they are not only compatible, but intertwined in a deeply meaningful way. Stoicism, as we have seen, does not advocate for the suppression of emotions, but rather for their understanding and management. We then compared Stoicism to other philosophies and found that while each has its own merits, Stoicism stands apart in its practical approach to life's challenges. It doesn't promise a life free of hardships, but it equips us with the tools to navigate through them with grace and fortitude. Our exploration of the Stoic approach to emotions was an eye-opener. Emotions, according to Stoicism, are not to be feared or suppressed, but rather understood and accepted. Stoics believe that our reactions to emotions are within our control, and it is here that we find our power. Instead of being swept away by the storm of emotions, we can stand firm, understanding that these feelings are a natural part of life, and navigate through them with clarity and calm. We delved into the practicality of Stoicism and found that it's not an abstract concept confined to ancient texts. It's a living philosophy that we can apply in our daily lives. It's about cultivating an inner fortitude that helps us face life's challenges with equanimity. In our journey towards emotional resilience, we discovered that Stoicism provides us with a path. It teaches us that while we can't control the world around us, we can control our reactions to it. By managing our emotions and not letting them manage us, we can build a resilience that not only helps us weather life's storms, but also allows us to thrive amidst them. In conclusion, Stoicism is a powerful philosophy that offers us a practical approach to life's challenges. It teaches us to embrace our emotions, not bury them, and to use them as tools for growth and understanding. It reminds us that we have the power to shape our reactions, and that true strength lies not in avoiding emotions, but in understanding and managing them. Remember, Stoicism is not about burying emotions, but understanding and managing them. It's about building emotional resilience and navigating life's storms with calm and composure. This is the essence of Stoicism, and it's a philosophy that can truly enrich our lives.